So what are some of the harmful parts of this otherwise acceptable piece of machinery called meritocracy? Well, three of them might be merit, first of all. Secondly, competitiveness, and third, reward. Right? So what's wrong with merit? Well, the usual kind of criticism about merit is what is merit, right? What defines merit? And then who defines it? And then what sort of indicators can you point to which can reliably tell you something about merit and the meritorious? And usually the answers to these questions lead to the conclusion that, well, merit is what the meritorious say it is, right? The winners get to say what winning looks like. And as a result of that, they control the rules of the game. And by controlling the rules of the game, they get to exclude those who are not part of the gang, and they get to include those who look and speak and think like themselves. So there's kind of elitist conclusion to this set of questions. The idea of merit also, or the problem with merit also, is when it is narrowed down to very few indicators or a very narrow set of parameters. And what this does is it reduces diversity, multiple perspectives, multiple frameworks of evaluation to a one-dimensional society, right? And the problem with this, according to this argument, is that it goes against what you need for innovation. It goes against what you need for a robust system. It goes against what you need for resilience, right? And if we're going into a world that's understood to be more complex and more volatile and so on, then being one-dimensional is going to make it very brittle and risky. So merit could be a problem when it's seen in these ways. Secondly, competitiveness, right? So what's wrong with competitiveness? I suppose in moderation, most would agree that there's nothing inherently wrong with competitiveness, but when it's taken to extremes, as people often say it has in Singapore, competitiveness then hyper-individualizes a society. So people become isolated into individuals. Success is individualized. So you think of your success as purely your own effort, and you think of people's failures as purely as a result of their own lack of effort, right? And it reduces the sensitivity to structures, especially hidden structures in society that may account for why people succeed and why people fail. So there's hyper-individualization of prospects. And also the sociological sense in which people are individualized, and therefore the reduction of the possibility for collaboration, community, having a sense of responsibility for one another, moral solidarities, right? The possibility of these kinds of things severely reduced when we go the individualization way. Another type of criticism has to do with how meritocracy leads to hyper-competitiveness, and hyper-competitiveness has an impact on the quality of life, right? So the quality of life, we've seen that Singapore has had to deal with the problem of mental health, depression, suicide rates. It's become a lot more public in recent years, but also that sense in which the quality of life, the stress of living in Singapore, the hyper-competitiveness affects society. What's that term they use? Lifestyle impotency, right? So, and that relates somehow to the problem, a post-familial society and the sort of birth rate problem associated with that. And Singapore struggles with its birth rate. It's one of the lowest birth rates in the world. And if nothing changes, it will be unable to reproduce itself biologically. So there's that type of criticism as well. And finally, reward, right? Usually this criticism has to do with how a focus on reward, especially extrinsic aspects of reward, can degrade things like public service. You can produce leaders who feel very entitled, right? The more you reward them and the more you flatter them with reward, the more they expect more reward. You also, at least in the Singapore context, and the way that Singapore designs its top public sector and political salaries, the salaries themselves are pegged to the highest earning people in society. So I think the original formulation was something like the salaries are pegged to 2/3 the median salary of the top 8 earners of the top 6 professions in Singapore. What that does, of course, is to incentivize top public sector leaders and political leaders to maximize their own salaries by paying the most attention to the salaries of the elite in society. Does this mean everybody is going to only focus on the elite and forget about the poor and the middle class? Of course not. But the incentives are designed so that they would pay most attention to the upper reaches of the economy and society. So these seem to me to be the main criticisms that point to particular aspects of meritocracy as debased.